Welcome to the Living Ageless and Bold podcast. Each episode, I bring you amazing women who inspire, educate, and share their experiences and journeys along the way. So grab a glass of wine or a cup of coffee, find a cozy spot, and let's relax and have some fun hearing what can be accomplished after 55.
Hey, everybody. All right, today's guest is, I think, what many of us listening and watching are going through. You know, we're in our mid to late 50s. In Anita's case, she started out in corporate. She's living the sandwich generation, mom and kids. And she's found her passion now, like going through this. So I want to share her journey and her story and talk all about her company, Oh Live Your Life, because it's just so amazing, and her amazing partner, Dario, who I know as well. So welcome, Anita Heidema.
Thank you so much. So nice to be here.
Oh, it's so good to see you.
Yeah, it's been a while.
I know. And you are just the epitome of who we're talking to and to share your journey. And I always go back when I start the show, because you didn't wake up at 56 living your best life like you are now. And I know you spent a lot of time in corporate. So let's kind of back up to what led you to where you are today.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I look back to when I was a child and I was always an entrepreneur. But you know how you get caught up in life and you don't realize what you're doing? So, I mean, I was 6 years old selling tadpoles door to door to people. But you don't get caught up in those things, right? So I ended up in corporate, as mentioned. Originally, I was in travel. That's what I went for, and I worked in travel. And then I got pulled into the paper industry. I was actually the first female sales rep in Canada. I don't know if you knew that.
No.
And worked up from sales to, when I left there, I guess it was almost 25 years later, I was in director role. So I had really worked my way into different angles and areas in the business. And
you said the paper business?
Yeah, the paper industry. So it was called the yeah. So it was called fine paper. So I worked for a company called Domtor. I worked for a company called Cascade, and they made paper, but it was the fine paper division. So many different areas. It's a very vast industry, and it's changed so much over the years, as you can imagine. People used to use paper all the time.
Oh, right. Stationary letterhead. You had certain weights. I remember all of that before email.
I used to do a sales program. I used to do a paper school. I would teach paper. I would actually even, like a business card, I'd snap at it. I'd know what weight it was. It was a crazy time during those years. But, in all that I went through, I mean, being in the paper business, I ended up having a coach and being trained as a coach and certified as a coach, went through Harvard Business with them. And there was so much that brought me to where I was, so that when I started my business, I guess it's 20 years ago, I was able to pull in my corporate background and my business experience, and then my travel experience to create what I had developed with AnitaHeidema.com, right? So, with the coaching practice and everything that we move through. But as you know, life is a journey, and it always takes you through different paths, right?
So let's talk about what you started, the AnitaHeidema.com, you're a certified coach, but you've had some pivots along the way to get you to where you are today. So what happens next?
Well, when I started my business, I had gone one-to-one with clients. And then all of a sudden I realized that when my mom got ill, being in that sandwich generation and being the only child that was able to, that was around, because all my family's in Holland, my brother's in Vancouver, how do I run a business that is, you only have 24 hours within a day? So I learned how to balance that and how to sell from the stage. And Kristen, as you know, is someone that we both worked with. She taught me how to do that, how to sell from the stage, and how to be able to reach many in that time period. And it was a really difficult time. My mom was diagnosed with something called Lewy body dementia. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Actually, it's becoming mainstream now, because Robin Williams was diagnosed with Lewy body dementia. So they thought he had Parkinson's, and he actually had Lewy body dementia. So what you do is you have signs of memory loss. So you can be diagnosed with Alzheimer's, or you can have Parkinson's or motor skill problems, and you're diagnosed with Parkinson's. And then when you're treated with each one individually, you end up having problems, because it's not the right recipe to be able to help you with the disease. So with my mom, unfortunately, and it came around the time that my book was becoming best-selling author and all the rest of it, that my mom was put into the hospital immediately because she was given the medication on a regular basis for Alzheimer's, and they realized it was something called Lewy body dementia, and she didn't have much time after that because they had given the wrong medication.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Frustrating.
it was a really bad time. Hence, I have a foundation now in her name, because the awareness of it and learning over time. And I don't call myself a doctor by any means. I just bring in the awareness and make sure you go to your doctor when you have these symptoms and those kind of things. And that's why with both our businesses that Dario and I have now, we end up dedicating a large percentage of our revenue and living off a specific part of our revenue so we can dedicate time to put towards that. But as you know, with the sandwich generation, when you have your children and going through some of the things you go through there, and then you have your parents, it's not always easy to be able to run a business. And for a large part of it, I was on my own as too, because I had at the same time gone through a divorce, and managing everything on your own, as you know, it's it can be sometimes a little bit difficult.
And there's so many women listening who have gone through exactly that. Some of them, held off their career and raised their kids and then end up divorced. And then, what do I do now? And,
what's next?
So you're going through, so you deal with your mom. Do you have one child? You have more?
I have two children. And now with Dario and I, we have 4 children.
Okay,
they're not really children anymore.
Yeah, adults. And you keep bringing up Dario, and Dario is fabulous. Dario is a world-renowned chef who is just this big, bold personality, and you guys are really fun to be around. And so talk about, because I know with you two together, this live your life, and I want to read this stat off of your website that I found, because this was really wow. 63% of North Americans spend more on medicine than food, and 87% are saying they connect less and less every year. And we know, I've had many, many guests on, it is a pandemic. Loneliness is a pandemic in the United States. The Surgeon General, they did a big report about that. And you guys are doing some pretty cool stuff to get people connected through food, my favorite thing. So talk about like how you guys, and actually talk about how you met, because I love that story, just for people listening, because it's a good story. And then we'll talk more about what you guys are doing together.
Yeah. So, going through the divorce and all the stuff that I had, I mean, the last thing I was thinking about was meeting somebody or having that. I had so much on my plate to work through the business and the rest of it. So it was interesting. It wasn't something in my camp, but I remember going through the death of my mom, and I sat there and thought to myself, you know what? I'm so used to being on my own that I really was looking forward to having someone in my life. And it was almost like I put that intention out there because, all of a sudden what you wish for comes to you. And if you really, and before that, I wasn't ready for anything, I really wanted to. So that year, I actually came down to the States. I had some work down here with Blue Cross. I was doing some other work, and I ended up getting a message from Dario, who actually was someone that I've known for, I guess at that time was probably 18 years. And he was always a friend. I never thought anything. And our boys are actually best friends. So, and I've always known him as just Dario. I never really thought I actually, in my podcast, I was going to interview him because I thought, everyone loves chefs and they love that type of thing. So we just started talking, and all of a sudden we started reaching out to each other and realizing that we had a lot more in common than we realized. Because every time we see each other at the ball games and the the football and the soccer and the games, and we'd sit next to each other, we always talked about the kids. We never talked about ourselves and what we thought was important. And so Dario had, the first time we actually met and saw each other was when the kids went to kindergarten. It was the first day. And I remember looking, I had, my son who was going into kindergarten, my daughter who was 18 months old. I was there on my own. He was on his own with his son. And I remember looking over and going, that's a handsome looking guy. But of course I was married, right? So I never really thought anything else of it. And then he said to me, "Oh, I remember looking over at you and you looked like this frazzled woman."
Oh, thanks,
That's a nice
Dario.
way because I had, my daughter was running off
Sure.
and I was really upset about my son going back to school. And I had taken a few years off of corporate to be home with the kids, which was, I really enjoyed. And I knew that that stage of life was going to be gone. And my heart was a little bit broken when he went back to school. And we actually went back to that spot. And, I said to him, "Yeah, you don't know where I was." And he pointed out exactly where I was. And I pointed out exactly where he was. It was kind of a neat thing. So fast forward many years later, we wish that things were different at that time, but so many years had changed, and we ended up coming forward as a couple. And so we ended up telling the kids. It was kind of like oh, really? We had to make sure that it was really going to be happening, and that
Did they try to set you up, or
no, they didn't even know, actually.
Okay. I have a girlfriend from college, and she got divorced, and her daughter and her now husband's daughter were best friends, and they set the parents up, and they are now married, and then they have a baby together. So I think that's kind of fun too, when the kids do the matching.
There was other setups that were trying to be done on my part. I don't know if it was Dario as well, but I know on my part, and it just was like, no, that's not going to work. So, it was different. But so we became a couple and told the kids, which was a whole other story on its own. But then we went through the motions, and I was busy. I was really big in speaking at that time. I was in Europe speaking. I was in India that year. I was in London speaking, and Dario was doing his thing. And all of a sudden we got to realizing that, oh my gosh, we're going through the same thing again. We're going to be not connecting. We're going to get busy in our lives, not putting time for each other. We don't want that to happen. So we really made a conscious effort of spending more time together and being really, I call it time blocking now, like really have that time block. I teach it in my coaching, like, I'm really focused on work now. And then that day I don't do anything. I turn everything off. And I think it's really important, especially an entrepreneur, because things can, get really kind of crazy. So, Dario, he teaches a master's program for Italian cuisine. So I get a chance, because I work online, to be able to go to Italy. And he was hired as a chef in a castle in Italy one time, and I got to go. And it was interesting because everyone at the table was so fascinated with the chef and the Italian. He's got a big personality, right? It's quite something. And so everyone's all intrigued. But as the night went on, a couple bottles of wine in, and people were talking about how stressed they are. Most of them were entrepreneurs, and what to do. And, they're not connecting anymore. And how they wanted to carry this experience back into their lives. So when we left, we were actually traveling through France, and I'm doing blogs in the passenger side. And we looked at each other and we said, this is an idea for a business, is connecting people through health and food. And how do we do this and pulling both our strengths in together? And that's what we did. So that's where Oh Live Your Life had come. Originally it was Passionless Cooking, and later on it became Oh Live Your Life. And as Dario says, it's Oh Live Your Life, with the olive. And it's about that, it's that olive branch, and it's that connection to, and Dario will say conviviality, and how important it is and how things got lost. So that quote that you actually commented on there, that was done in 2019. So it was pre-COVID. So I can't even imagine what that is now. And I haven't got the new stats. So that information on our website is still old stats. And it was interesting because we were in the US and we did a show on ABC First Coast News. And we actually broke up, because usually we do a cooking segment, and I'm the non-chef and he's the chef, and we do a little cooking segment. This one was done a little bit differently. And I sat on the couch or in the chair, I forget what it was, with one of the announcers, and Dario went in the kitchen to cook. So they did a little segment on me, and they did a little segment on Dario. And this is just before COVID. I think it was January, February of 2020 that came out. And we talked about this alone together. And how we get people, when we did our dinner clubs, to get their phone and put it in a box so you could really connect. You're not half into anything. You're actually focused with a dinner party. You're focused with your friends. You take that time. And we talked about that alone together. And it's kind of funny. Then COVID came in, and it was just a common word, right? It was a common word. So those numbers are pre-COVID, and it's still continuing to this day, in learning what we did with the unfortunate situations that happened there. It still is something that's so important, is to be healthy, to concentrate on your health, on being connected and really focusing on that time together with those people that are so important. Because a lot of people, they put time and effort into people that really don't matter. And that's not the way to be either.
Gee, are you all still doing the supper clubs?
Yeah, so we do have the dinner club. It usually it starts with the Mediterranean, because we talk about our brand is really about living the Mediterranean lifestyle from anywhere.
Which is what? Let's talk about what that is. What is the Mediterranean lifestyle?
So the Mediterranean lifestyle is, so we originally, how we came up with this is Dario living in Italy, and just it's in his blood to get together for dinner during the week. You know, you don't have to make a schedule to meet your friends. You just show up at their house. It's just, you know, happy hour where your friends all get together. You don't, you know, go to bed at 7:00 because you've got to work. It's living life to the fullest, right? And living healthy and connected just naturally. Right. And it's me going to North America. I mean, from North America, going to Italy. And on a Tuesday, we're eating dinner at 9:00 at night. And I'm thinking, this is crazy. I need to get myself into bed. I need my beauty sleep. This is not going to work. You know, and seeing it from the other side, coming up with these principles we've come up with called the Mediterranean lifestyle from anywhere. And it's not a diet, because everyone talks about, the Mediterranean diet, and it's all around the Mediterranean diet. Like Dario says, you know, if my grandmother, my Nona, who actually raised him, if she would say, we're going to have the Mediterranean diet today, or it just wouldn't be, right? It wouldn't be. It's just the way they live, and it's in your blood and it's in your bones, and working with these principles. So, you know, one of them is eating balanced, you know, eating till you're not completely full, 80% full, and having more vegetables, not saying, I can't have this, I can't have that. It's bringing more positive and healthy things into your life, and not, you know, looking at that dessert that you might want once in a while and go, oh my gosh, you know, being stressed out, or just eating twigs. I mean, it's not about that. There's so many delicious flavors out there, and cooking ways that really enhance the flavors that are healthy for you. And then we talk about, you know, being active naturally. Like, we're one of the crazy people that we're in Canada in the snow, and we'll walk to the grocery store, and we have our backpacks on, and people think we're nuts. We went to Costa Rica for 4 months, and we did the same thing. We'd walk around everywhere because we wanted to not have the car. We wanted to be able to force ourselves to walk, or take the stairs when the elevator is available. Just those common things, you know.
But I love to walk, and I will walk anywhere, just like you just said. And I got my husband in it too. So
good.
And we live, you know, not like a mile from restaurants. I'm like, let's just walk. If the weather's nice, you know, put on a coat, and then you don't mind walking up there. And then it's so good to walk after you eat. So then you've got to walk home from the restaurant and get your digestion going.
And then it's the conviviality too, right? Because then you're talking, so you're not, you know, you can't really be on the phone and walk. So you have that conversation again, and connect.
Let's talk about the retreats that you do, because they just sound amazing. I haven't been able to go yet. The dates just don't work out. But let's talk about how you're combining all of this and then taking people to really teach them how to do this.
Yeah. So, as I mentioned years ago, that's what I did. I was in travel, and I started my business actually taking entrepreneurs on retreats and doing a business retreat. And then when they got back, I would coach them to stay on track. So, and I actually, up until 4 years ago, I had a travel agency, and it's a big part of me. I talk about this getaway to find your way. It's so important. So previous, I would hire a chef. But this time, Dario and I working together, it just brings the whole experience together. And with him being from Italy, him working with a partnered culinary school, and us doing all these adventures, we have these connections all over that are different and unique than most. It's not the, you know, another bucket of rocks. It's the experience and feeling like an Italian, and feeling what the Mediterranean lifestyle is like for that week, and then carrying that on when you come home. Because it's one thing to live in the Mediterranean, and it's one thing to have this stress-free life, which is another principle, you know, but when you bring it home, it's not always that easy to do, but it is. If you feel it in your bones and you carry it on, there is a way that you can engross that into your everyday life. So we have Tuscany, which is usually our signature trip that we do. It's a luxurious, there's 2 villas with a pool each. Every day we have an experience to do. Some people, if they don't want to join in with the experience, they can, but they say that they might not want to, but they always do, because we're cooking with Michelin star chefs, we're doing tours of Italy. There's always some kind of a unique experience that ends up happening, and doing it through Dario and my eyes, and seeing it from an Italian to a North American, and bringing that experience alive. We also do this Tuscan barbecue, which always ends up being the favorite. And usually I can't share the pictures and videos from that because everyone's having too much fun. It's like what happens in Tuscany stays in Tuscany, But it is a unique experience that just gets into your bones. It's something that really is different and unique from any other.
So you mentioned briefly about the stress piece of it. And
Yes.
and I know we went to Tuscany for 10 days and it was spectacular, and the food and the walking, just everything that we did. But you come back here and it's very easy to do that over there. How do you help people come back and keep with that lifestyle?
Yeah. We have a program online that people will go through, but a lot of times people will just continue to coach with me to keep that sort of experience. So if they run into, this stressful situation in their day or their business, how do you change that and be able to still continue to resonate with what the Mediterranean lifestyle is? Because really, in the end of the day, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. It's so important. And people, they just get so engrossed with money, and it's only about this. And at the end of the day, you can always make more money, but if you don't have your health and or your happiness, you don't have anything. So, it's working with these people afterwards if that's something they want. And a lot of the times, that week of spending with us, they're happy with what it is. And it's not until a year later they're like, oh, we need to go on the next retreat. And then we offer others. Like, the next one is Amalfi. And we always have different ones. And those are sold out like this. So once you're in the flow of it all, our next retreats always sell out quickly, and Amalfi is already sold out. So
congratulations. That's exciting.
Thank you.
So food, exercise, stress. What else? Anything else?
Having purpose is so important. Having more adventure in your life is really, really important. And everybody that's different. You don't have to be bungee jumping to have that adventure in your life. But I always say it's opening yourself up to self-discovery. And that's what Italy does. The senses of the smells and the sights and being with the locals and understanding. It's a different world for many. And when you actually are there experiencing, even with the locals, you're like, how can they do it this way? How does this go? And then you start relaxing and enjoying, and you understand those principles so much easier and what you're doing, and then carrying it through your life.
Yeah. I said, we left Tuscany. I said to my husband, my goal is to move there for 30 days. Like, I found a couple little towns that I love that I just want to sit there, and I want to sit outside, even working with my laptop at a little cafe, and just walk everywhere. And it's like, why can't we figure that out here? It's just such a different lifestyle there that, why do we have to be, so stressed? And like you said, money. And it's just
at the end of the day, you can't take it home with you, and there's only so much you can do, and that's why even with what we do with our businesses, so much of the proceeds, like we're working on to live on 30% of the proceeds of our business, and then the rest we can donate to the Anita Heidema Lewy Bodies Foundation, and really advance and expand this, because the foundation has been around. I'm trying to think, 8 years, but it's not always easy to work out the finances to keep within that realm and grow the business at the same time. So it's a real heart-centered way to be able to run your business so that you can live off less and then still enjoy, and then be able to give back to those causes that are most important to you. So, it's just an added sort of thing. And like I said, yes, money is nice, and it brings you many things and whatever. And I'm not saying anything really bad against it, because that's part of life and the rest of it. But when you put that ahead of,
I was going to say, you can't lead with money.
You can't. And many people, they will, but it will affect your health. And in saying that, I mean, that we haven't even gotten into that part. I mean, I was diagnosed with melanoma, and had been through the cancer thing, 5 years, full body scan, hasn't gone secondary. And thank God it's good. Yes. Thank God. And, I have an autoimmune disorder that was detected, I guess, in my 20s, but it's really sort of riveted itself before meeting Dario, and the understanding of the stress-free life, because my adrenals were going so quick. And then I was, thinking, oh my gosh, I'm getting heavy. I have to diet. I got to watch this. I can't eat this. I can't eat that. And that's not the way to live. Live healthy, eat healthy. Don't stress out about those things, and everything within balance, right? And that's the way it is. And when you have that health and that happiness, the money will come. It will just come to you.
It does.
You know?
It's really interesting you say that. I was with some girlfriends this weekend, and we were talking about women and health, and, we get Botox, and maybe we get our teeth whitened, and we get our nails done, and we get all this stuff done, but nobody wants to pay for the scans and to shift that to our health, eat better, spend more money on organics, like that kind of stuff that like we were all just really sitting there like, wow, we never really thought about it like that, but health should come first.
Yeah. I find that, I've been traveling for a bit, and I think there was one point where we were traveling 2 years straight, and I was talking to a lot of people all over. And it's interesting because the topic is always, health. Oh yeah, of course, health, of course, happiness. And everyone's talking about it, but no one's really doing anything about it. It's I'm only going to eat organic, and I'm only going to do this, and I'm only going to do that. And yet, McDonald's is still in business, and it's the simulated quick way of living, like most of the food that you'll get. I shouldn't really be commenting just on McDonald's. It's that health, that food that's created.
It's fast food in general. It's that, there's not a lot of healthy fast options out there.
So we're constantly encouraging people to cook together and to eat together again. Look at the ingredients that you're having, buy local, right? Because they don't have all the pesticides on them. And even if you can start doing it a couple days a week, and then you start getting the enjoyment of it. Like Dario and I have such a hoot when we cook together. It's hilarious. And I'm sitting there like, I've cooked for the family all my life. I mean, I know how to cook, but then he's like, and cuts away. And and it's interesting because I like to put the more healthier twist, even though he knows. So I do juice pairing with all the recipes that we have online, and we do our little cooking videos. We have one, actually, we're going to be on CTV doing a cooking show coming up. So that's going to be really exciting. Yeah, hopefully we'll bring it over to the US. It's only going to be in Canada so far. But, there's so much around that, is to actually taking action to putting that action to those words, right? And not just having it as the fashion statement for now, and it's really, really important.
And I tell you, you were talking about you guys cooking together, and my husband and I, we had 2 kids growing up. I cooked, he cleaned, he did breakfast sometimes for the kids, like we just had our thing. But now, and after going to Italy, we took a pasta making class, and we love making pasta together. Like, it's so fun, and he's good at part of it and I'm good at part of it. It's like, we should really do this more often. And when we entertain, there's things we do together, and it's really fun. Like, I really enjoy us doing it because it's just us. We don't have no more kids here. It really.
You're lucky. They keep coming back.
No, I told him they had to go.
It's not luck. I'm just joking.
No, I keep joking that I said, "Oh, you have to go. You have to go. Like, you graduate from college, you're moving out." Well, then they graduated from college, and it was more to inspire them to get a job. And then the time came, and I'm like, no, you can stay home. It's okay. And they're like, no, time to move out, Mom. So, but they're doing very well adulting, so it's okay. And we do see them a lot, which is nice.
Yeah. And, as an empty nester, we've been through even flow things where they keep coming back and they're gone, but more or less, we don't have the dinner ready for them like we used to, 6:00 dinner and do all that. We're sort of more independent stuff. And as that happens, you want to find fun things to do together as a couple, because then you end up fizzling out, because for so long, the kids bring you together and you have that common thing. And so as an empty nester, it's important even more so
Right.
to cook together, to find fun activities, to live an inspired life, travel, be around those like-minded people. And that's the community where they'll live your life. And what we've created with, the cook together, eat together, the travel together with the recipes we have online and everything. It's so, so important.
Yeah, it's such a great website. So we'll have everything in the show notes, but oliveyourlife.com. So we wrap up every episode with the same 2 questions.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
You didn't prep me. You didn't prep me for this one.
No prepping. What is the greatest thing you have accomplished since you turned 50?
Greatest thing I've accomplished since I turned 50. I do think it's my children, actually. Yeah.
How old are they now?
Do. They're 29 and 27.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it is it's more difficult than most people think to raise your kids, to keep them out of trouble, to read them as good at adults, and then also to step away.
Right. Nobody tells you it's hard to have kids. And I mentor a lot of college students and they're like, oh my gosh, you've been married 28 years. That's incredible. I'm like, let me tell you about the peaks and the valleys. And let me tell you about when you have kids. That's something nobody talks about. And it's really important that people understand. It's hard. And it's hard on your relationship. So I feel like you. I've got a 26-year-old and a 24-year-old. And I was like, okay, we did okay. They're good human beings. Like they're good, kind people. And that's all you can ask for.
And I still have my marbles. I'm not crazy with it all.
I might be a little. Okay. And then where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Oh, well, it's interesting you say that because I was just putting together some of the business plan and ideas and things that we do. So our business actually is a production company. And so we've done documentaries. We have one that's done in Niagara. I don't know if you've ever seen it. And I see Dario and I really walking out into the sunset and doing these documentaries and our cooking show and bringing people, to Italy and really getting that full experience and just continue that. I don't see myself ever retiring because I really enjoy it.
I don't either.
I see stepping away a bit more from, the speaking and the coaching end of things and doing more things together with Dario. And getting the place in Italy. I see myself, Dario just renewed his passport for Italy and seeing what the adventure is going to take us there. And I find we're down in the US a lot working. We have a lot of corporate team building workshops that we do with cooking, and it sort of takes us all over as well. So, some of that stuff maybe wean off and just have more of the enjoyable part of it. So that's where I see myself in 10 years.
I love it. It sounds fabulous. So thank you so much for joining me today. All of your information's in the show notes. You guys check out Live Your Life. It's a great life to live.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you for listening or for watching this episode of Living Ageless and Bold. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit subscribe. And if you like the episode, I hope that you will give us a great review. You can also head over to livingagelessandbold.com and sign up for information, inspiration, and exclusive opportunities for us, women over 55. Thanks for listening. And remember, no matter what you do, keep living ageless and bold.